Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be doing my VCT America's Power Rankings for Week 2. I'm going to be ranking all 11 teams into these 5 tiers. If you do enjoy, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. It really helps me out. Pushes this video out to more Valorant fans and VCT fans just looking to get other people's opinions, I guess. I don't know. There were a lot of crazy games this week, and I'm recording this video at 5 in the morning, so let's get right into it. Starting here with number 11. I have Furia. Not too much of a shock to anyone who actually watched kickoff. There is some individual talent on this team. Like MW looks good at times. I don't think he looked great in this game personally. I do like Havoc as a player, but so far hasn't looked too great. I do like when he actually got to play like his initiator stuff. But otherwise just looked, I mean, on the Killjoy, I don't get why they forced him onto that role. Personally, it just doesn't make any sense to me. I'd rather him even play like the Omen or the Viper than that. But maybe Conan wants to be more of the pack or something. I don't exactly know. And yeah, speaking of that, just the roles on this team are so wonky that I don't know how to do it. Like when I did my player rankings, I have one player in each role on every team, and I didn't really know what to do with Furia, so I just kind of kept it the same. But in terms of like actual gameplay stuff, I was expecting the mid rounding on this team to get quite a bit better with the addition of Noswer, and it didn't. Like this team, I think they should have lost Icebox. I think they got outplayed. Just had quite a few hero moments from players like MW on the Omen. And I don't know, there's just not much to say about this team because it does really just feel like they are dead in the water. Then I think this is the first time in Americas that we've had two teams in the bad tier. I'm going to have EG. Not something I expected coming into the split or the year even. The individuals on this team just look really bad. When you get to like Supa, Apoth, I think especially. I think the other three are good players, but I don't really see it. I really don't like Jogamo on Jet. It's not his best agent. He is not a great opper. Just keep him on the Rays. I don't know what you're going to do about Jet maps, but whatever. Like, I don't know. It just feels not quite like 2021 or 2022. 2021 Asuna, I guess, and 2022 because he played it at the beginning of the year. But like, where his Rays is so good, where you just want to get him on the Rays, but like his Jet isn't bad enough to where you have to force somebody else onto the Jet. It's just really weird. I'd rather them keep him on smokes like they did last year, or maybe even play flex for this team. I don't know. It's just a weird situation. I do still believe in Potter and I believe in Derek, and I quite like how Nashor played in this game. But overall, as a team, they just did not look good. And it reminds me a lot of early season EG last year, so maybe they'll improve throughout the year because they played pretty well at lock-in as well as kickoff this year. So I could see them improving, but right now they have to be in the bad tier for me. Moving on to the Frisky tier, teams that any given week could be another team, like that's above them, maybe. And to start off that tier, at number 9, I'm going to have Crew, moving up one spot. I do think the Kesnet and Heat duo looked really nice. I think there were some moments where there were some miscues where like Heat just didn't have enough experience on the initiator, which will happen. But I think overall as the year goes on, he will get better at that. And I don't know, I think the firepower on this team looked quite good. I also think the Klaus IGL honestly looked a lot better than I expected. It looked very similar to the Melzer IGL. Just some small issues here and there with like, yeah, maybe this wasn't as coordinated, or I don't know, like like there were moments where it's like, oh my god, what are you doing? You're running around the map, going 5 different directions, audibling like 3 times in 30 seconds or something like that. And I don't like that kind of calling sometimes. But I think again, as the season goes on, he will get better in that role. Personally, Melzer in like individually didn't look as good as advertised by this team. Like, they specifically swapped him off the IGL to get him more comfortable in terms of a fragging role, and he didn't improve that much as a fragger. Now, Shy, still really good. I still really like him here. And there's quite a bit of upside with this crew team. I just don't know if they're necessarily going to reach it with this roster. Like, I can't see this roster being like one of the best teams in Americas this year. But I could see them being like a good team that makes playoffs, but not quite a like Madrid contender. Maybe like a Furia last year or something like that. So I record in like I start the recording, I record a tier, and then I stop the recording, which I forgot that I wasn't supposed to stop after I was done talking about crew, so I just did that. So that's why there's the cut in the video. But yeah, then we have MIBR who had a bye this week. I don't know, not too much to talk about, just not too many teams falling below them, in my opinion. I think you could make an argument that crew passed them up, but I didn't want to ding MIBR too bad for not playing this week, pretty much. Then the other Frisky team we have is, if it'll let me, Cloud9. I mean, I think the big thing with this team is when Vanity moved back to Smokes, his calling looked a lot better, which was something that I had mentioned with this team as a possibility. Just wasn't sure if it was necessarily going to happen. And it did. I mean, historically, his calling has been so much better on Smokes. He's made deep runs in tournaments on the Smoke role as an IGL. Now, I do think individually he looked a lot better on the Initiator, which I think is probably why he played it, was because he thought, oh, well, I can still IGL to the same level, but on an Initiator, and play a lot better as an individual. Just didn't happen. It's all good. Moving on. And then a player that I was really harsh on coming into the split was Oxy, who I think had so many issues where like he would just overheat or really fuck something up, and that really counterbalanced like the big, really nice plays from him, like the aces, the 4Ks, the round saving plays, that kind of stuff. And he felt a lot more solid and stable this game. Don't know if that's going to be how it is in the future with him. He could just be a very streaky player. Maybe has a game here or there where he was really really pops off. I don't really think he popped off necessarily this game, but I thought he played a lot more within the structure of the team, which is something that I really wanted from him. And then the other player that I think looked a lot better than I expected was Moose, who I mean, I always thought was a good player. I just didn't think he would look maybe as good as he did towards the latter half of this game. I don't think he looked great early, but I think as the series went on, he started to settle in and look a lot better. I think there's a good chance that he, as the season goes on, kind of has that same trajectory. And then, to me, personally, it did not feel like Rooney and Zeppa top fragged the series. Like I think they both were the highest in kills for Cloud9. It just didn't feel like that to me. Zeppa was throwing on Icebox, and I think Rooney had some bad moments on that map as well. And then I think they had good moments to counterbalance that on the other two maps, but I don't think they were as consistently good through the whole game as the stats maybe would show. I think, again, the three players that really did it for me for this game against Leviátan was Vanity, Oxy, and Moose in terms of the calling, more stable duelist play, and just a good solid player to kind of anchor sites and everything like that. And then moving on to this tier where it's just a bunch of question marks. I mean, I think when you see this tier, you instantly know what team it's going to be, and that's Leviátan, who, I mean, I'll start off with my first note here. They just look bad, but they also have Aspas, so you cannot rate them that low. I think the mid-rounding looks just as bad as it was last year, which was kind of the main thing with this team, but I also don't think this team has like the set strats that they did last year that would kind of push them through these games. They're playing more weird comps, which is something the coach that they picked up, I think it was Goked, I believe. That could be wrong. He was running some weird comps last year in Ascension on whatever team he was on, and I think that's going to continue here, and has. Aspas Phoenix, I would never understand putting him on anything other than Jet, Raze, or maybe Neon or Chamber. I don't know. The comps are just so bad. I mean, Calm as a player, he has to do a lot more mid rounding in terms of just being the most comfortable mid rounder in English on the team. And like because King doesn't speak English before this team, so Calm's individual play has dropped off, which is kind of a big thing with this team. And yeah, Tex just playing some weird roles here with like the Sage and like some of the flex stuff that he played at kickoff. And I just don't like that. I think his Sentinel play has looked fairly solid. Obviously, he statistically played better on the Sage, but I didn't see that personally. I think he had more bad moments on other roles, and I don't know. This team is in a really weird spot. I don't know how they're going to look down the stretch. I think individually they looked fine. But I think it's just getting that into more of a cohesive unit that is really the issue here, and I don't know if they're going to be able to do that, especially without a real IGL and with a coach who is not very proven. Then onto the great teams tier. I mean, our biggest tier here in America is starting off at number 5 with 100 Thieves. Now, I know the whole discourse around 100 Thieves has been, well, blow up the roster if they lose this game, sell the org, everything like that. Now, they didn't lose to a content creator, at least. I still think they looked pretty good in the loss. I think they showed some really nice things. We've given this team time since kickoff, and I'm waiting to drop them a tier or two until they prove that they don't belong against the top teams, which I think they've still shown that they can compete with Sentinels. I don't know. I don't know how they're going to look against maybe a Cloud9 or an MIBR or a team of that level. I want to see them play those teams, maybe some Louds, maybe some G2, who I have ahead of them. Maybe some teams like that instead of just Sentinels, and then Leviátan as their first game with no practice. I don't know. Just they're in a weird spot right now. And I don't know. I think pretty much all the individuals had a nice game. I think the one player that I really am concerned about is Bang. And that's not necessarily that he's going to look bad at any point, because I think he'll generally just be solid. But I think when it gets down to it in these late game scenarios when they have to close out a map or have to close out a series, he just doesn't give you that extra oomph that you want from a controller player with generally, like, I don't know, they're generally just more calm and everything like that, which I don't think Bang gives. And I don't know. I believe in all the pieces here. I just don't know if they're going to ever fit together. And I just think they lack that something. I don't know what it is, but to close out big games, it's never been their thing. Moving on to G2, who I thought looked amazing. I mean, I think the biggest swap was Jonah playing more of the Viper and Trent playing the Scan Initiator. I mean, Jonah looked good on the Viper, and Trent looked even better on the Scan Initiator. So, I don't know what they were cooking, playing it the other way around, but I'm glad that they're here now. Icy, despite his stats, which I actually looked at like the past couple minutes, and I did not know they were that bad. I thought he played a lot better than the stats showed. He was very, very solid for them. And then Leaf on Sentinel. I've been saying it the entire time since they dropped net. That is what I wanted them to do, and they did it. And he looked amazing on it. I think Valen's calling looked a lot better, and his individual play as well. And I don't know if that maybe part of that was like Net was calling too much and adding too many cooks to the kitchen or something like that. That's a potential thing. I'm not going to say it was or anything, but because I don't know, but I'm just going to throw that out there as a potential thing of why this team got better in terms of calling when losing such a good mid-rounder like Net or somebody who makes good adjustments or whatever exactly he does. I know he contributes a lot to the calling though. But overall, I thought G2 looked sick. more in line with the expectations of people heading into the year, and I think they should be glad about that. And now, onto Loud, who I have third, moving down one spot here. I don't think this is as much them looking bad as it is Energy looking good, who I have moving up above them, who I'll be talking about in a bit. Um, I don't think they looked that bad on Breeze. I thought they actually looked pretty good. Obviously, Sunset was not good. They got antied by Energy. They got to change some of their comps. I think that's the main thing here. I think you do have a lot of hope with less and Tui's looking as good as they did. Um, I just need this team to prove that they can play better comps. I don't think you really need to go any deeper with that with this team. They have the talent. They just need to play better comps. I mean, dude, this has been a thing with Loud every year. They go on a spell of playing these dog shit comps. And I think at the beginning of the year, these comps were good. Now they're not anymore. And they go on the spell maybe in the middle of the year where they just experiment and run a bunch of bad comps and look worse. And then at the end of the year, they go back to all of the standard stuff that everybody's running. And they looked like one of the best teams in the world at both champions events. I don't know. I just think they need to prove that they can play better comps to go back up into this international contenders tier. I don't know if they'll be ahead of either team that are ahead of them right now. But I think to go up into that tier, they definitely needed that. And I'm not going to go with a break in between these because I did a break in between G2 and Loud because I needed to drink something. And yeah, as I said, Energy, I have number 2. That means Sentinels are number 1. I mean, Energy, I thought they looked really, really good. They adapted very well to the meta changes that they did not do very well at kickoff. I liked how they used Demon 1 a lot better. I mean, on Breeze, I never thought there was really an issue with that. But I think just throwing him onto the Rays on Sunset and being like, hey, just let him fail on this, and if he fails, then maybe we go back to maybe playing him on Astra, on Brim, those agents, instead of the Omen. But I really liked Demon 1's Rays. It wasn't like unreal. It wasn't blowing me away by any means, but it was definitely very good. And I don't think he played it to like necessarily the pace that most Rays players play it at, which was odd to me seeing that work as well as it did. So I'm curious to see it against more teams. I think it'll be fine. But yeah, I just want to see it. And then Sentinels, number 1. They're the world champions. Won this week. Not really much to say unless Energy looks like an unbeatable team, which is possible, but I don't think there's a world where I put Energy over Sentinels this split, realistically, especially with how Sen is going to be trying every game, which was my main cause of concern for this team, is that I didn't think they'd care enough about the games to actually try, but they did, so I think they'll go they'll go and have a very good record. I don't know if it's going to be undefeated, but it'll be close to it. And so with that, those are my power rankings for this week. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I'm sure there's going to be quite a bit of disagreement here, especially with Americas, but personally, I try not to super overreact to certain teams playing bad. Like, that's why I don't have Leviátan as low as maybe some people might have. That's why maybe I don't have C9 as high. But there's teams that I'm like, that I was already on the edge about, and then they showed something in the first week of the season, maybe even with a new roster, that kind of maybe not blew me away, but like really set an expectation to head into the season. And I mean, that was really what G2 did to me. And yeah. So yeah, that's it for the video. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. As always, leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.